All right. Do you guys want to give a few more minutes or?
Yeah, we can. I mean, if you think there's a chance more folks are coming.
Okay. We can start at seven, what is it now, 7:03? Okay, what time you wanna start? Whenever what's good time?
I don't know what the rhythm of these events normally is.
Yeah.
Get people coming in.
I mean, usually we can do 7:10 if you want.
Yeah, sure.
We'll give 7 more minutes.
We need to fix Fledina's name on the slide.
Oh, you do?
They added the NIL,
Okay.
but I need to straighten out.
Let's try that. Yeah, let's see.
Does this look great? NANAELL.
Yes.
Come on. Are you done, Professor?
I'm all set, yes.
Okay. Sure.
Every topic.
Three more minutes.
All right.
All right. Counting. Something good?
Right here.
No?
They know they're bringing it from.
Okay, thank you.
I'd love to share this event with my school. Is someone gonna be taking pictures? Is someone gonna be taking pictures at all, what's going on, just so I can then send it back to my college? Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, they can.
How to say your name? Fly. Proteína. Oh, very unique. Thank you. Proteína, you Haitian? Oui. Okay. Very interesting. That's George.
So I'm actually Ladina's French professor.
Wow.
And so, when I started this project, she was the natural person to ask to help me with it, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. My French professor for Quinn. Interesting. Very nice.
So I came to Haiti through Senegal, France, and then Haiti. That's my-
Right.
It seems to be where I've landed. Definitely at the end, we should try to get a picture of, everyone, yeah, in front of the,
Oh,
in
yeah.
front of that, yeah, that'd be nice.
We can do.
Yeah, the school does this little newsletter of
Mhm.
faculty news,
Oh,
I can send that to them and
That'd be a nice add to the
get,
newsletter.
yeah, get your guys' name in the space of our community, and so. I will say, when I talk to people about this work and this project, it gets much more interest than other things I've said I've worked on. Like if I
Okay.
said, oh, I'm writing about this book or this movie, you know,
Uh-huh.
but when you say, oh, no, I'm actually talking with people that
People,
live in DC, like
yes.
it gets much more of a,
Very, very interesting.
yeah.
You get more traction?
Much more traction,
Yes.
yeah, you can see them actually get more interested rather than less
Mm.
interested. I understand that, I've been one of those people before.
All right.
You ready? Yeah, okay, yeah, we're ready whenever you guys.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. That's good call. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Munfiston. I am your facilitator for tonight's session. I am one of the community service officer for AHP, and welcome. Thank you again for joining us in person or on Zoom today for community conversation about the challenges and opportunities facing the present day Haitian communities of the DMV. As part of this community conversation on research discussion, we have Professor McLeod and research intern Ms. Valeria Bruno presenting original research. And they are inviting HP members contribute to the first ever research study about Haitian diaspora of the DMV. The content of the Haitian community in Boston, New York, and Florida are often talked about. There has been much less attention for the Haitian communities and around the DC area over the past 2 years. Professor McLeod and Mrs. Bruno has conducted over 20 interviews with DC Virginia-based Haitian, English, French, and Creole. They have also participated in Haitian events such as the gala, picnics, parade, and church events. Today, these are the preliminary results of this research, followed by an open discussion. Discussion will be changed for attendees to react to the research, can presentation, and to share thoughts on how to sustain and strengthen the Haitian communities in the DMV during these uncertain times. We invite AHP members to contribute to their during the question and answer part of today's session, and by signing us separately for an interview with the research team to share their perspective of the challenges and opportunities facing the Haitian communities of the DMV. All interviews are anonymous and confidential upon request. Our community conversation today is intended to be space for Dr. McLeod and Mrs. Bruno to get feedback in their work, as well as the effect and what it means to be a Haitian in the DMV, and how to ensure the sustainability and health of the Haitian diaspora, both for the good of its members and for the broader local community. This conversation raises awareness, explores how to get involved with planning forward activities to advance support the research project and other action to remain engaged forward. At this time, I'll give you a brief background of the speaker. Professor George McLeod currently is an associate professor of French at St. Mary's College of Maryland. Dr. McLeod earned his PhD in French and Francophone studies from the University of Pennsylvania in 2016. His first book, Meditating Violence from Africa, Francophone Literature, Film, and Testimony After the Cold War, was published in 2023 with University of Nebraska Press. Dr. McLeod's interest in Haiti grew out of several research trips to Port-au-Prince in the mid-2010 to investigate how Haitian poets were commemorating the traumatic legacy of Duvalier dictatorship. Most recently, he has conducted site visits and interviews in English, French, and Creole with the Haitian community in Tijuana, Mexico, 2023 through 2025, and the DMV area, 2023 through 2025. This research formed the basis of an upcoming conference presentation at the 2025 Haitian Studies Association of Annual Conference in Pittsburgh, entitled Civic Engagement in the United States Haitian Diaspora, a case study of the Association of Haitian Professionals, and an article in progress, the Journal of Haitian Studies, tentatively titled Sensing Across Borders, Strategies of Resistance and Community Formation within Haitian Disparate Communities. Dr. McLeod is fluent in English, French, proficient in Spanish, and Haitian Creole. Our next attendee is our speaker, Flaviano Analo Bruno. She's a research intern. Mrs. Bruno is a native of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, an undergraduate major in French and performance studies at St. Mary's College in Maryland. She was awarded funding to work with Dr. McLeod summer through the St. Mary's College Signature Honor Internship Program. Mrs. Bruno recently studied abroad in Cannes, France, and is a member of St. Mary's College track and field team. A resident of Columbia, Maryland, she is considering a career in humanitarian law. She is fluent in English and Creole and proficient in French. Welcome our speakers for today. Dr. McLeod, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you so much. Thank you for this introduction. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Gilles, for and everyone at AHP for making this possible. It's a real pleasure today to be sharing this work with you. If you're interested, there's a QR code here if you're interested in doing an interview for the study, and you can also contact me via email or phone as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my motivations for the study. Often when I'm doing this, people will say, "Who are you and why are you here?" As Lisa said, I have been to Haiti twice. I became fascinated with the culture there. I was also very moved by the hospitality that I encountered in Haiti. I also was very left out because I didn't speak Creole the first time that I went. So I've been diligently trying to learn Creole since then. I also came back and became very appalled by the depictions of Haiti in American media. And I want to push back at that in my teaching, in my writing, and in the presentations that I'll be doing about this work. And then on a personal level, I've always enjoyed learning new languages, sharing food, music, conversation with people. And I've also just really enjoyed my time getting to know members of HP, other people in the Haitian community, listening to music, eating food, going to the gala. So it wouldn't be right to say that there's also a personal motivation to getting involved. And I've tremendously appreciated and enjoyed the hospitality of the Haitian community here. And then
Hi, I'm Fladaina, and my motivations for this study was that I'm very proud in the fact that I am Haitian and that I came from Haiti. And so being able to connect with other Haitians and talk about my culture was my strongest motivation to doing this research with the professor. I was also very interested in learning the different perspectives that Haitians who immigrated here or Haitians that were born here had on being in the country, how they view Haitians, and just how they viewed the culture just in general. And I also wanted to learn about the different opinions that they had of themselves, whether good or bad, about being Haitian.
great, thank you, Vladina, and she'll be sharing a little bit later some of what participants told us in these interviews. So I'm going to try, I do want to save plenty of time for discussion, so I'm going to try to move pretty quickly through some of these slides, but what is the motivation of the study behind the broader personal ones that I just shared? I've talked about there's so much disinformation and stereotypes about immigrant communities in the US right now. We want this study to be a part of combating that. We also are curious about some of the unique challenges facing Haitian communities in the United States, whether they're first, second generation immigrants. How is it different, the advantages, disadvantages of being Haitian in the US? And then also in the DMV, as Lisa mentioned, there isn't as much of a concentration of a Haitian community. So what does it mean to be Haitian in this space where you can't say walk 3 blocks and only speak in Creole, or you can't go into McDonald's and order in Creole? Takes a different kind of effort to build and sustain community. And we're curious about that. And we also, as much as we want to be honest about the difficulties facing this community and all immigrant communities right now, there are some really heavy issues that need to be addressed. Within that, people find space for joy, for solidarity, for resistance. So we want that to be a part of the story as well. As Lisa already mentioned, where will this be shared? So I'll be giving a talk talking about AHP and its role in sustaining and strengthening Haitian community in the DMV. A space that people don't often associate with the Haitian diaspora. And then there's a longer article where I'll be talking about work both in Tijuana and work here, and thinking about, again, communities where there is not a long history of having Haitians concentrated in an area. How do Haitians in these areas face the challenge of staying connected to each other and having a sense of community? And as Lisa mentioned, if you're interested in participating, this is an ongoing research project. And we would love to talk to you guys about your experiences as well. We've done about 20 conversations. I think often some people say, oh, I never have talked about that stuff before, or I've never had a chance to share that in that way. And so we found it to be an enjoyable, a powerful experience for everyone when we do these interviews. I hope that you'll consider. So over the last 2 years, what we've been doing, Vladina and myself, a mix of Zoom and in-person interviews. We've been asking questions like, how do you stay connected with Haitian culture in the DMV? What are some challenges that you faced? Do you feel like you missed something by not growing up in Haiti? And then what are some of the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and feelings that make a space feel Haitian to you? And that could be the sound of dominoes, the smell of cooking, of course, comes up a lot, music. But we also want to focus on not just in addition to big formal events like the gala, less formal things like gatherings. How do people find spaces to gather with friends and family and stay connected to Haitian culture when there can be so many barriers to that? And we also asked a final question about the American dream. And we got some really interesting questions. Do you believe in the American dream? Is that something that you think is real? What does that mean to you? And I'm going to turn over to Vladina. She's going to share some of the more interesting and revelatory quotes from our interviews. And of course, you can see these are all anonymous.
Thank you, Professor. So what did people say from the interviews that we conducted? Some people said, for example, person A, how they didn't find a Haitian community straight away. There weren't any Haitian kids around, but my family at a certain point. And another person said, see, Haitians are all kind of like the rainbow. You find every different type of Haitian, you find the sophisticated ones, you find the ones who are not sophisticated, everything you can think of, you'll probably find. And a few of them talked about their challenges and frustrations that they had living in a DMV and not really having the access to Haitian food, not being really able to understand the language when they first came here. And they also talked about how they feel like the Haitians in Florida are more Haitian than the Haitians in other places because they are very proud in who they are and they throw it out. They talk about it a lot. And even though it may not always be good, they're still representing Haiti in some type of way. And in this slide, we also continue with things that people have said and how they talked about their experiences, like moving to the DC area and also talking about the American dream, how they don't how the American dream was not a dream meant for minorities to achieve, and how they just don't believe it was meant for us to achieve and have access to, and also the community that they find, like Haitian churches. How did we conduct our research? We did our research by participating in public accessible spaces with Haitians gathered in the DMV. We also tried to connect through what we saw, the taste, the smell, how we felt and how we spoke with the community. And we also did that through the spaces that we were in. We also tried to contribute to creating uh, that community when possible slash appropriate. And some of the ways that we did that was by going to sites like picnic church events, like when my church held a fitai and I went there and we were raising money for a trip that recently happened in the beginning of August. Also like the HP Gala that's happening soon, or going to other HP events like the happy hours or Giselle. The preliminary findings that we found from the interviews was that many families, individuals come from all over, like New York, Florida, because they are a small community and they were trying to find potential job opportunities and cheaper real estate. Also, participants agree that DC community is spread out, and at one point they described it as more educated and upwardly mobile than other Haitian communities across the bridge in Maryland. An example would be Salisbury or other large cities in the US. And they found importance in organizations like the AHP or the Haitian Ladies Network in order to sustain the Haitian community in DC. We also found that the Haitian community, aka more specifically the church, played a big role in people building a community with each other and other Haitians. And also that some young Haitians seek alternative spaces to church and former professional organizations through informal private gatherings, concerts, happy hours that are organized through social media or WhatsApp. And also, some of them found a disconnect to the Haitian culture in the DMV because we don't really have access to like restaurants and foods like there are in Florida, where they have Haitian grocery stores, a bunch of Haitian restaurants. You can actually find stuff like Lil Masqueti, Cassave in those places that you can't really find in Maryland. And some participants did express that they were concerned about organizations like the AHP because it felt less visible, accessible to Haitians because they felt like they were less educated or they didn't really have the blue collar jobs. And there was also a language barrier in the Haitian community, as some felt like, oh, people don't really consider them Haitian because their Creole or their French is not really proficient or fluent like that. And more of our preliminary findings from the sites that we went to and visited was that music was very much a central theme at these events. Like compa, you could just hear it all over the place. You could also hear people talking Creole. You could also see how there's some gender roles of where the men will be more in the public spaces while the women will be more of like helping with the food or in the kitchen just cooking it up. And people have been finding that it's like very less visible for them to go to these spaces because of the political climate that we're currently in, and it's a very much a tough time for Haitians and other minorities. We also found that restaurants and like public picnics are often less viable and like coded as Haitian as opposed to other ethnic restaurants or events in the area. Example would be the HP picnic. Like when you went to it, you couldn't really like tell it was there. You had to go up to see it. And you could also find a presence of code switching of where people would talk from Creole to English or English to Creole or French to Creole at these events. And it could be difficult for the Haitians who are not very much proficient with their language in Creole or in French. And you could also really find the smell of the food, like the épices, the oil, the acra, all over. And here's Professor McLeod again.
So thank you, Fladina, so much. That was wonderful. And so we did encounter some challenges. We have had trouble finding interview participants because of, in part, the present political climate, fears over deportation and being identified, which is completely understandable. And then also, I think some questions about at this time what it means to identify and publicize spaces, situations where people have recently arrived. For instance, there's a event for a humanitarian newcomers event, which people in AHP participated in. That event is no longer running because of the political climate. So, so there is a part of not just the Haitian community, but Haitian communities that are present here and folks that have a less secure immigration status. It's harder to talk to those people, but at the same time, there is also a logic to them having the option to not be visible right now, and we could, of course, completely respect that. There's some other spaces we'd like to keep visiting, church events. Fladina has been to some of the church events, but I haven't. Local music event Bal, I'd like to attend as well. I guess on both for personal and professional motivations. And we would like to interview at least 10 to 15 more people in terms of this kind of research. When you get to about 30 or 35 people, this kind of qualitative research, that's generally considered to be about the maximum number. We have 20 interviews now, and we're quite close, but it would be wonderful to hear from more people as well. So again, I invite you in the audience or at home, if you're interested, scan the QR code. You can sign up for an interview right away. You can sign up right now if you'd like. Or you can email me. You can find me on the St. Mary's website, or you can send me a text. And at this point, I'd like to open things up for discussion. So thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to present this to you, and thank you for your attention. And the questions we have, the first one is, as I already said, adding your voice to our study. We'd love to have your help getting to 35 participants. And then I guess the kind of questions we have are twofold. One would be reactions that you have to the study, any questions or concerns or comments about our methods, about some of the things that we've concluded. And then the other would be any discussion people would like to have around strengthening Haitian communities and our local communities more broadly right now, the challenges you see for the Haitian diaspora in the DMV, and what you would like to see happen in the Haitian community in the DMV in the near future. I am happy to answer any questions you have about the study. And I would also plan then to listen if members of the community would like to address some of the other topics there. So thank you very much. Merci et merci en pile. Merci tout le monde.
Question. After you completed the study, what's next?
That's a really good question. What's wonderful about studies like these is they never really have to end. So you can publish, there's that article coming out, but that looks at the DMV and Tijuana, but I would love to also use these interviews to just think about the DMV. So what I'd like to do next, and I'm trying to find ways to get funding so Fladina can keep helping me with these, is publish something else that's more focused on the DMV, and the conference presentation on AHP this fall is kind of like a first step towards that. And then the other thing I'd like to do is go to Salisbury and talk with people there, and be able to talk more, from an informed way to contrast Salisbury here, to think about how Haitian communities are, surviving and also thriving in the US, and to give some more kind of realistic and helpful visibility to those communities. So I'd say those are the two next steps. Yes.
Thank you for this wonderful research study. I have a question about Haitians you spoke to in Tijuana.
Yes.
First, how, why did they end up in Tijuana? And the majority of them, all of them hope to immigrate to the United States or and decide to try to go someplace else or you stay in Mexico, you know, the possibility.
That's a really good question. One thing I found there is everyone's story is always a little bit different. And so there were people that had come straight from Haiti, there were people that had come from Cuba. I would say the majority or the most common story were people that had been working in Brazil or in Chile, and then had decided to emigrate to the United States. Many of them had done the Darien Gap, this really treacherous stretch connecting Panama and Colombia, and had come to Tijuana as a border town with the hopes of crossing into the United States. And they weren't able to do so under the Biden administration. When I was there just this past August, many more people said they did not want to cross anymore because of the current climate. And there was a noticeable difference from the year before and the year before that. But yeah, I would say the majority were people that were looking for work after work in Chile or Brazil had not worked out for them, had been planning to cross the US. And now we're at a crossroads. I think some have decided to stay and make a life in Mexico. And some, I think, especially ones with family in the US, are still trying to cross, but some of them are feeling quite frustrated and helpless with the situation. I would say it was the minority that came directly from Haiti. Say most came from South America or the Dominican Republic.
What's the resources is the Mexican government providing, if any?
Not much. I think there's a lot of issues. There's issues with healthcare, especially women giving birth. A story I heard was they weren't allowing visitors for a Haitian woman who was in the hospital, but the woman didn't speak Spanish and she ended up dying. And the woman I spoke to said she thought if she had been allowed to have more people who could speak Spanish to translate for her, that might not have happened. There is a legal path to citizenship, and some people have taken advantage, or to residency, and some people have taken advantage of that. So I think there's a clearer, more stable path to residency, but I did not see too much in the way of public service extended to the Haitians. In the media, the Mexican government will say otherwise, but from what I saw on the ground, was people that were really struggling and hustling to make life work with pretty minimal support.
So, thank you again, Professor McLeod, Ms. Bruno, Ms. Monfiston. A couple of questions we have on the Zoom, so I just wanted to take a chance to acknowledge them as well. So, we have some questions from Nadine. Nadine, do you want to speak or do you want me to read them out loud?
Hi, sorry, my voice is going a little bit, but I can speak. So I am a first generation Haitian, so born here. And I kind of wondered if you found any generational differences and how, in your interviews and how Haitians experience community, like were there any gaps or differences that you could point out or think through?
Great question. Go ahead and answer that.
I feel like you can tell there is a generational gap in a way, like based on my personal experiences also of how I was born in Haiti. I came here when I was 4, and then my siblings, they're first gen, they were born in this country. And you could really tell of just like, there's just some things of the culture that you do compared to like the other generation. Like for me, example, I tempeh my pain in my cafe, my chocolat, and like my siblings don't do that.
That's a really interesting question. We've had a lot more success recruiting younger people to interview. So I think there's some sample size bias. We've gotten the younger generation perspective more than people who were born in the, say, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I'd really like to get to that, to talk to more people from that generation. But it was really fascinating. I mean, we heard, people that didn't speak Creole as well as they would like because their parents made them speak English. There was tension around things like hairstyle and clothing, like wearing locks, for instance, to church came up multiple times as something that was sort of seen as not appropriate by a generation. And we did have one thing I noticed was it seemed like for a certain generation of Haitians, 20 or 30s, there was a real desire to connect as young Haitians, kind of in their own sort of spaces. So, getting together for Supjumu or for a Haitian flag-based celebration, but kind of organizing it themselves. So like out away from a sort of family structure or away from the church, kind of creating their own spaces themselves. So you talked about future directions. I love that could be a potential direction, when you have the second or third generation, you want to stay connected to Haiti, but there's certain things from the other generations, and conservative politics could be one of them too, that you're not as much of a fan of. So how do you create space to be Haitian in the way that makes sense for you as some of the younger generation, if, say, the church that you went to no longer feels like the space that that can give you that? So I think that was probably one of the more in terms of generational studies, the 20, 30-year-old Haitian saying, hey, let's figure out something that's for us and how do we put that together. That was really interesting.
I have a question. Is your study focused on identifying obstacles or challenges Haitian women face in US? And or you just interested about them because you see you went to Haiti, you think the culture is fascinated, then you want to study what purpose of that study exactly.
Yeah.
And then how do you define community? You refer to a lot of church, you refer to go to bar, and then in addition to that, in this area, most people are professional. And what type of, I'm talking about who in terms of respect, are you single out certain group in terms of class? Are you interested about the entire, what is the purpose of that study? I'm not sure about the hypothesis, what the purpose of it. I do understand you mentioned is a qualitative research, it's not necessarily qualitative research, so could you explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's multiple questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the purpose of the study, I spoke about it a little with the slides, but I think there's a lot of disinformation or ignorance about not just Haitian communities, but minority immigrant communities in the US. And as an educator and as someone who is paid to research, I have the means to travel, I have the means to pay for research assistant to help with this kind of study. It's not journalism, it's not CNN, it's not MSNBC. I don't have to do things fast. I don't have to do things that grab headlines. I can take my time and I can talk to people and I can write something that people can read and really understand, like you said, what are the challenges this community is facing? What are the needs that they have? But also part of that for me too, talking about the ball and the other events is this idea of Haitians need to be saved. Haitians need, help from someone else to be seen. I want people to also know, look, these communities are facing these challenges as white Americans and as non-Haitians. These are our community members. We should feel an obligation to help. At the same time, there are certain things they don't need our help. I don't think Haitians need my help with food or with other kinds of things. And I think Americans need to, and non-Haitians need to appreciate and learn and respect those other aspects of Haitian community that are wonderful and are working in spite of all of these challenges. And I think that's a way also to get people engaged and interested, and then it's easy for someone to say, oh yeah, I like this food, I like this music, but then wait, who's listening to this music, who's making this food? Who are those people? Let me talk to them. Okay, well, what issues, what are they facing? What are they going through? So for me, it's it's giving, I'm lucky enough to have the time and the space and the resources to do a study like this, where I can really give a bigger picture. And hopefully it will, on some level, contribute to more curiosity for Americans to get to know Haitians and to show some solidarity. But not to think that Haitians are those poor folks who just need our help all the time. No, there are ways that we can help. There are other parts of Haitian communities where they're really thriving, and they don't need a certain kind of intervention. And then the last question about community, it's a great question. We've been very open in the study in terms of just defining it as, if you have spent time in the DMV and you're part of the diaspora, we want to talk to you. We're not limiting it to any particular group. And part of our conclusion also will say, we weren't able to speak to as many people that had arrived recently because they had security concerns, but no, we didn't limit it beyond just wanting to talk to people that are in this area. So I think it was a great question.
Okay, let's go back to the Zoom. Excuse me. We have Lawson. Are you on the call? You want to speak up your questions to speakers?
I think there's something before that. She said something about South
Yeah,
America.
Nadine.
No, I saw that, but I guess wanted to give Lawson, since Nadine already had a chance. Are you there, Lawson? Okay, let me read the questions. So he had 2 questions. Did you set a sample size for the study? Is your target population Haitian born and raised in the US, or do you include Haitian who were born in Haiti as well? That's the first set of questions. And then the second set, do you think the sampling is representative enough of the diversity of the Haitian community here to draw any valid conclusion?
So yeah, that's a really great point. So in terms of methodology, so this is a qualitative study, it's not a quantitative study. So in a qualitative study, where you're talking with participants and you're publishing, I'm not collecting data about, how many Haitians live in DC and how many live in Salisbury, and 85% of Haitians said Kumpa is the most important thing for them musically in Haitian culture, and 17% of them didn't go to college. It's not that kind of study. And for a study like that, you would need a much larger sample size. So this is a qualitative study, again, meaning that our data is what people tell us, not like specific data points about people. And in a qualitative study, when you've met your sample size, when people just start saying the same things again and again. And we have had, I think Ladine would agree, like people saying similar things. Difficulty learning English, for instance, for people coming is something, right? That gets said a lot. I don't think we're at the point where in a given interview, we can expect pretty much everything to be something we've heard before. But generally speaking, 30 to 35 people, that number I set, is considered a good sample size for qualitative research, right? But again, it's different from the quantitative, where you're doing statistics and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question, and we can also address that in the write-up. So if we say our sample tended to be people from this generation, we would have wanted to interview more people who have this experience, we weren't able to. So that's something we can say in our discussion, but that's a really good question. And I think 30 to 35 for a qualitative study would be enough.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. And then the last,
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For the part about who the participants, it's not just like Haitians who are born here, it's Haitians who are also born in Haiti.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Sorry. All right, going back to the other question from Nadine. I think she wanted to know, can you talk more about the Haitian community in Salisbury? Because she said she moved to Maryland and did not know there were Haitians there.
Sure, and I imagine there can be people also in this room who have a perspective on that community to share, but I can share what's come up in the interviews. We've actually talked to a lot of people that were born in Salisbury and then come to DC or come to Baltimore to study. There's a lot of food processing plants down there. I think chicken and other products. So a lot of Haitians just came down there to find work, to work in those plants. But now, of course, they've had children and formed a community. And so we talked to a lot of people that were children who'd grown up in that environment, and we're now trying to go, go to college and think about their future. But they have described to us as more of a working class community, more concentrated. There's more support from the municipal government there. So I think they've had like Haitian flag days in Salisbury that were coordinated with the local government. There's more Haitian groceries. There's more just concentration of people speaking Creole in the streets. And so I haven't been, but I'd really like to go. And actually, Jill and I were talking about this, how in terms of in Maryland, as far as I know, it is the most concentrated community there. But what's interesting is some of the children of those people that came to work in the factory, some of them are now leaving to go to school or to pursue education elsewhere. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts the community going forward. Yeah.
We've had a couple of them who were members of the association, and they share those experiences with us. Some of them expressed they didn't want to go back to Salisbury. They wanted to kind of explore other opportunities outside, which is one of the reasons. And we've also had some experiences interacting with the leaders in that community as well. We were speakers in one of their workshop series they were having about entrepreneurship and things of that nature. So we've had exchanges with them as well. It's one of the largest Asian, according to the Census Bureau, demographic area in the Maryland. It's actually in Salisbury. Salisbury comes first, and then Silver Spring would be second.
And they're of course facing pressure from immigration enforcement as well. That came up in the interviews. Speaking with some community leaders who are working overtime to give support to folks that are facing that. And I think unfortunately, because of the census data, there's an awareness of that community there. So these are especially challenging times for them right now.
Correct. Just one last opportunity for those on the Zoom. Are there any questions more from you, Nadine, or from Lawson? Or has anybody else wanted to ask some questions that didn't get a chance to ask questions? Feel free to open your mic if necessary. Okay, I guess not now. We can turn back to the room here. Anybody else has a question for the speakers?
I don't know if it's a question. You said the reason you wanna do that research, you wanna have a better understanding about the Asian culture, Asian community, but without using qualitative research, how do you convince somebody about what you're about to say about Asian, the outcome about Asian culture or Asian people? So I know it's a complicated question. The Asians start settling in the US.
Yeah.
In the 40s, then you got the second wave, outgoing the Duvalier, and then you got and so forth. And currently, we got a different, diverse Haitian community.
Yeah.
That settled in the US. So how do you convince based on reliability and risk? Convince people?
I mean, you're getting at like a much bigger sort of debate about qualitative versus quantitative research methods. And there are people that do not, that are not a fan of this kind of qualitative research. And so that's a really like big debate. So, I'm not the only person doing these kind of studies with the sample size that's this size about communities all over the country. Some people think that the qualitative with larger sample sizes is reliable and that this isn't. I don't happen to feel that way, but that is a debate. So that's a larger debate. So I don't really have an answer for that if what I've said isn't convincing necessarily, but other than to say that I'm not presenting it as that, we're not presenting it as the whole truth about this community. We're saying we spoke to people that live here. We went to events with the community that's here. This is what people told us. This is what we saw. This is what we felt, noticed, tasted. And you can read that and interpret it how you'd like. But it's not supposed to be the definitive history or, window into the Haitian community in the DMV. It's you could think of it as like it's our snapshot of what we did and the people we talked to in this moment of time. And some people, like I said, prefer the qualitative, where we'd go out and talk to 100, 200, 300 people, do that kind of research, but it's just not. I don't have that kind of training, so. But it's a big. I mean, there's books. You can stacks of books yay high arguing whether or not a study like this would be valid, pro and con. Yeah, that I don't have much more to say other than that, but that's my argument for it. Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about the process by which you selected to research Haitians in Tijuana.
Yeah.
How you identified that population.
Yeah.
And when you decided to choose Haitians in Tijuana as opposed to something.
Yeah, that's really an interesting question. I mean, Tijuana is a fascinating space as a border town. You have people that people that are right on the verge of coming to the United States, but are not able to. And you also had people with this story of having often been in Chile or having in Brazil, coming to Tijuana. This is the next stop on their journey. So again, thinking in terms of the snapshot, to get a snapshot of a Haitian diaspora that is in a really unique and in some ways kind of precarious position, being in the border, trying to cross, being a racial minority in Mexico, not speaking the language necessarily. All of these questions of what it means to be Haitian and an immigrant and to be in this vulnerable position, all of these things kind of collide in Tijuana in a way where I think they're really powerful. They're really powerful stories to tell, and that I think have a lot of relevance for immigrant communities, really all over the world. I mean, this idea of the American dream that we'd ask people about, and people coming to Tijuana for a dream of going to the US, not being able to cross, having to confront the reality of their migration versus the dream that they had, and how to move forward from that. I think there are millions of people across the world are facing that, the dream that drives migration versus the reality of what you find. And so it felt like so many things in Tijuana. There are so many stories like that in Tijuana, and those felt like important stories to share, and to help people realize, too, that these are real people right on the border of our country here.
You just find the Haitians in Tijuana. Did you have a guide?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I mentioned my interest. I'd read about it in the newspaper, about the Haitian community there, and I mentioned it to a friend, April Mays, who's at the University of, was at Pomona College in California, because I saw that she had taken students to Tijuana. So I said, I'm interested in going. And she gave me the contact info of a woman named Vivienne Petit-Frère, who owns a restaurant in Tijuana, and is kind of like the unofficial mayor of the Haitians in Tijuana. And she immediately responded and basically just kind of let me hang out in her restaurant, and then we just chat, and I learned a lot from her. And then I also would go to the flea market, and there'd be people playing compa, and I'd go up and I'd say, and there was a question about my Creole. I'd go up and say, moi c'est Georges, moi c'est un professeur, moi ici pour apprendre sur la vie haïtienne en Tijuana, parce que moi qu'à parler avec vous, Ticras, and we would talk, and yeah, some people didn't want to talk, and so I went away, and some people pulled up a chair and we talked for 2 hours. Yeah.
I just want to ask a question on something you said earlier about the generation that you interviewed. And also some places that you guys also mentioned you went to. Since you already interviewed a lot of younger generation that you mentioned, you want the older generation, the 80s and 70s and so forth. I believe church community is where you will find that. I think one of our guest question was, how do you pick the group of people that you interviewed? I think having a broader idea for that study could be going back to church for the rest of maybe amount of the 15 people you're looking for. Because in church you will find the non-educated and illiterate people, the people who don't speak French or English at all. People who've been in the community for a long time. So I think to incorporate them in the study would be great because a lot of them are coming from far, far back in the days.
Yeah.
And yes, in between, the people who were raised in the eighties and the seventies, how that, also the people, the wave that he mentioned about the people who left Haiti during the Valier
Yeah,
and who
yeah.
are here. And I heard when Ms. Bruno mentioned about, some people say, oh, when they go some places, it's like in Haiti, they call them a bourgeoisie. And in the DMV area, we do have some group of people who behave like that, and they don't want to speak Creole. All they want to speak is French. Even they speak broken French, but they would still want to speak French. Unfortunately, where you have other people who can't speak French. So in Haiti, in general, people use French as a barrier to stop other people from to be in. So the moment that you start speaking French, you're blocking certain generation of people to speak with you. Because if you're gonna go to school, and we need to put it out there for you for your study, if you're gonna go to school in Haiti or outside of a French speaking country, you don't speak French. In Haiti, they speak Creole. So you take maybe my great grandparents, they wouldn't be able to speak French with you. They only speak Creole. So I think people need to understand that, because once you meet someone, they say, oh, you speak French. No, I don't. I speak Creole. Haitian Creole to be precise, because there's a lot of places in Africa and the Caribbean who speak Creole as well. So I speak Haitian Creole. So it's very important for people to understand that. And I think it will be great to incorporate, maybe going back to churches and incorporate those different generations and different people's backgrounds within that study. I think it would be great to get the balance of the born in the US, Haitian born in Haiti, raised in the US, and as a young adult. So it's, and Haitian people who also came to the US as an mid-age adult, and Haitian people who came in the US after the thirties and forties. There's a lot of different age gap. I think you will hear different stories, their experiences. I think it will be great for that study.
Yeah, and that's one of our goals. Do you want to talk a little bit about your efforts in your church to try and recruit participants?
Yeah. Well, you have to go to different churches.
Yeah.
I mean, not just your church. It's a lot of few Haitian churches in the community, apparently. So it's if your church doesn't work, maybe you need to put it out there, go to different churches, because that's where you will need a lot of other older or mid-age Haitians. Give you maybe some of the stories that you guys are trying to connect with the younger generations to connect them.
Absolutely, thank you, and Rob.
And to echo what you said, and I think, because you're interested about challenging, Haitian in several years, and then I think you will find the best participant to reflect in what you intended to define in your studies. Because for people who've been here with me for more than 20 years, I might not have the same challenges as somebody just happened to be in the US 2 years ago. And I think, especially people who came 2 years ago or 3 years ago, coming from South or coming to, I think that would be the most interesting factor. Because they're facing real challenges also.
Great, yes, thank you.
Hi, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for coming here to talk about the research. I'm very excited to actually read the findings. In my job, I need to find a lot of data and research to talk about different populations, mainly to trying to understand what their needs are. So I think I'm hearing a little bit of concerns from the participant, but I think it may be connected to how do you envision people reading, making insight from your study? I missed like the first 15 to 20 minutes of the presentation, but I think maybe helping us to understand how you envision people taking away from the study would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things. I mean, one, in the level of getting resources for people or, allocating funds. I remember someone telling me that in her world, you need a study to justify often asking for money or doing grant applications. So having information out there about the community in the DMV and about some of the needs, there's having something published is certainly something that could be used at some point, to justify grants or for people in the community that are looking to build a case for, hey, this community is here and they have these needs, for instance. So that's definitely a part of it. In terms of the audience, for an article like that as well, I mean, it is an academic audience. Journal of Haitian Studies, though, is very broad. So, the Haitian Studies Association, you have literature professors, but also anthropologists, but also people doing public health. It's a very, very wide range of people interested in Haiti and doing research on Haiti. So also just, people going to a conference to hear me talk, or when I'm talking to them at dinner at the conference about what I presented, or flipping through the Haitian Studies Journal, saying, oh, you know what? I've never really thought about, the community in the DMV before, and just sparking that interest and that curiosity. And you don't kind of know where that is going to lead to necessarily, but, I remember someone telling me that we interviewed, she was doing doctoral research, and she said she wanted to work on Haitian, I think on Haitian women's health in the diaspora in the US. And they said, at the time, her supervisor, she was white, said, well, that's not going to interest anyone. That's not going to get funding, whatever. And then when there were those awful photos of the men on horseback, beating back the migrants at the river, Haiti was in the news. And all of a sudden, her professors understood why maybe we should focus on Haiti and Haitians. So, there's this obviously isn't like the news or like a newspaper, but, it's part of that, just kind of, that overall ecosystem. And that's where, again, I think, it's very important that what we write, is convincing as possible. And be attuned to that. If someone is reading this, what image of the Haitian community are they going to have? And in turn, what kind of resources might that allow? So, but you just don't know with something like this. I mean, you do your best and you write what you do the best work that you can and you put it out there. But I don't know, for instance, at this conference, if anyone has in recent memory has ever presented on Haitians in this area or on the AHP. So even just saying it to an audience of academics,
I don't think so.
People from all over the country teaching, Haitian history in Atlanta, or, now all of a sudden that's in there as a point of contact. And I think that, I think that's one of the goals as well, but you don't know what's going to come from that, right? You just hope that if you do it in the right way, that visibility will lead to something positive.
So I have a question. And I don't know if you addressed that before. Have you ever done qualitative study of this caliber before in your experience or in your journey so far?
No, I haven't. This article, there's actually a co-author who is an anthropology graduate student at McMaster University in Toronto. And so I've been bringing my experience as a writer and a researcher and as a Creole speaker to bear in the study. And she has been wonderful in helping me with the qualitative aspect of it because she has done that before. So yeah, that's a great question. I'm a literary scholar by training. And so for this first article, I have been working with someone who has more qualitative training to help me get up to speed.
Yeah, that's a good point you mentioned that, because the next question I was gonna ask you is, as a literary scholar, maybe not necessarily deep diving into empirical studies and things of that nature. Typically when you do have these researches in these papers you're doing, you do, review of literary work, comparable work.
Yeah.
So my question is about have there been other studies of other communities in the US that you can draw on as comparison to the Haitian community? That's my first question. Secondly, to me as a Haitian American, that would be of interest to the Haitian community to kind of see other communities who are living outside of their home country, where we fit in terms of where we are evolving in this, possible curve, for lack of a better term. And if there's such information that could be referenced, so at least oftentimes when you look at yourself through the prism of others, you can understand and find relatable stories, relatable points that you can reference in terms of crafting your own journey forward, which is the reason why I asked the question. And the third question is really, once this, because I know you have different audiences, Haitian Studies Association is one of them. Do you see what may come next on the outcome of this research?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, there is, I didn't go into it here, but there is a literary review at the start of the article that talks about those communities in New York, Boston, and Miami. And I would need to go back and look at the review to give you more specific examples, but it's really a range. And what I found is, you have studies that look at, a lot of them look at, Haitian identity, what it means to be Haitian. I did find there's one woman who was looking at tapes in the 80s that people in Florida would record for their family, pre-WhatsApp and Skype, and they'd send those tapes home, and sort of the way that those tapes created community. And there's been a fair amount written just about, I think, some of it more from that perspective you were talking about, like, okay, here's the number of people that came to New York in this year, and especially after the Duvalier dictatorship, after Aristide, I think you get a lot of articles that pin the migration to a particular political moment in Haiti, and then take that historical perspective. Okay, this is why these people came, these were their needs, the things that they encountered. And so one thing that's been interesting about this study, and why I really hope we can talk to some people that have been here longer, has been, we've heard about pressure, housing pressure, wage pressure from New York and Boston, making people want to come to this area. So that has been part of the story. I would love to connect some of what's happening here to the broader immigration questions. So that's the answer to your question about some of the other studies. I think a lot of them are tied to these like waves of migration. But something else about this study too, just in terms of methodology, and this has not really been done actually that much about any of the Asian diasporas in the US, is the multisensory approach that we talked about, that we also I am going to these spaces, we're going to these spaces, we're listening to the music, we're talking to the people, we're eating the food. And so part of what we're communicating in the study isn't just, sort of, part of it is that comparison with other spaces. Some of it is just, if someone has never been in a Haitian space, what would they hear? What would they see? What defines it? Just to give someone a window into that world. And I think that's where the literary side, I think, informs what I do, because when the article comes out, you'll all talk about going to Port-au-Prince and Roberto inviting me out into the patio and making fun of my Creole mercilessly, and just giving me a hard time, but also kind of inviting me and being hospitable. And that part is also for non-Haitians to think about, hey, what if I put myself in that space and made myself vulnerable in that way? And that's not a DC specific thing, right? So that is some of the article relies on that comparative stuff, and that's important. There's other stuff where my literary background, I'm interested in story, I'm interested in connecting people with experience. Some of it is just sharing that, because I think that's important too. I'll give one quick example. I took a Mexican friend to meet Vivian, the Haitian woman in Tijuana, and he was like trembling, this white Mexican guy, to come into this space to meet this woman. And I was thinking, you're a nice guy. Like, what? She's a nice woman. Like, what's the problem? What's the problem here? And so, but I get that too. I get those nerves, I understand that. And so as someone who's kind of said, you know what, I'm just gonna sit down with these people, they can make fun of me, they can do whatever. I just, and when, if it's time for me to leave and they get the signals, I'm gonna leave. I want to share that part of it too. So I think that, I'm doing my homework with my co-author for the more qualitative part, and then putting myself in there as a sort of a participant and modeling a certain way of moving in these spaces is also part of it too. So I'm also gonna I'm gonna keep doing this until someone says stop. My gut tells me this is a worthwhile project, and I do have some homework to do in terms of certain aspects of it, but I've gotten good feedback on the project so far, and we've had a wonderful working relationship. So yeah, I think it's something that I want to keep doing, but there's always more to read.
But I think the reason I asked the question is because I know
Yeah.
part of your challenge in asking HP to host this,
Yeah,
is because obviously you would like to get more interviews.
yes, sure,
going.
sure.
Are there other challenges that you found yourself to be in that you're hoping those of us who are here or on the Zoom could help, clear the way or help improve
Yeah, that's
the outcome?
that's a really great question. Well, like you said about people in the church, I have emailed at least one pastor. I didn't get a response. I know you had some issues as well recruiting. So, I mean, if people, first off, there's some positive things that can come out of this. The more people we can interview, the more convincing our results will be. And so I would love for people, the Asian community and for HP as well, to think, hey, like this is not just for this guy, who wants to do this study. Like this is something for the community that can give positive visibility. And if you think there are things about the community in the DMV that should be out there, that should be shared, that should be in a publication that gets read by Haitian scholars and people interested in Haiti across the country, come and talk to us and get that out there. I'd love for this to feel like something, we were doing together with HP and with other Haitian folks. And so, building trust with that generation you're talking about, for me, it's like a white person is not always obvious for me. So I think I may need some help with that. And so if someone is willing to vouch for me, vouch for Flavina as someone who's, conscientious and professional, and that if someone wants to participate, they can be a part of something cool and they want to have their name in it, their name can be in it, that's an incentive as well, but people can also, remain anonymous. But, yeah, in terms of something to ask, I think that's what it would be. And I think, the interviews have been, has anyone here been in an interview? No. Generally speaking, they've been enjoyable conversations. I mean, even if we touch on difficult topics, they have come away, we talk about tough stuff, but we also laugh, we also talk about, that's why we ask these questions about the food and about, what's your favorite part of being Haitian? It was a question they asked too, because we're trying to talk about challenges, but also give a more complete picture of what are the joys of being Haitian. When was the last time you saw that in the New York Times? What's joyful about being Haitian, and why do Haitians love being Haitians? I've never talked to a Haitian who said that they weren't proud to be Haitian and didn't love their culture. Where's that story? I haven't seen that in ages, and it's appalling to me that those stories aren't being told. Those need to be told too. So if people feel excited and invested to be a part of this, and if you can help spread that word, that would be wonderful. Yeah, but I understand also if there's hesitation, and so that's also been, I haven't wanted to. It's a tricky time. When I started this in 2023, it was a very different situation. I would have felt much more comfortable going into a church, and just kind of talking to people and asking. And I'm not sure right now. I don't know.
Might take your eyes.
What? What did you say?
It might take your eyes, you might try to get them from.
That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Who's this guy? You know what I mean? So I think, that, mon pari créole, quelquefois mon pas connaît qui mot keep moving. But you know, and that, you know, if someone is going to say, hey, you know, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, whatever, you know, let me see if they want to talk to you and say, hey, mom, aunt, you know, this article's gonna come out, you can see it, you know, you can see the thing that you said. If you don't want your name, that's fine, but you know, yeah, that would be great. But again, I totally understand, so I don't want to put pressure. That wouldn't be right, yes.
Do you mainly just do them on Zoom? Are you willing to just go to people's house and just sit in the, with them on a table and just have a discussion?
Yeah, I'm open. We've done Zoom because it's, you know, convenient for people, but yeah, if someone was willing to have me in their home or in another space, I've met some folks in restaurants, and as well, but yeah, I mean, if someone were to extend that invitation and we could find a time that worked, I would gladly do that. But I think the trust issue has been something difficult for a certain generation, and I do think I need some help with that. And I would gladly take that help from anyone who thought they wanted to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have one question on the Zoom, is about where would the results be shared? A link to the article. Or
Yep.
the articles that may come out of, as an outcome of this research.
So, yeah, so the flip side of doing something that's more complex than the New York Times or CNN is that it takes a long time. So this current article should be submitted, this week. It will get sent out for peer review, it'll get sent back, there'll probably be comments, hopefully will be out in the Journal of Patient Studies in the fall of 2026. And I can certainly share that with AHP when it comes out. And then, yeah, I've considered trying to publish things online about this project. I'm writing some stuff online about my trip to Tijuana. But I'm kind of waiting for the political situation to change. I don't feel totally comfortable in real time right now saying, hey, this is where the Haitians hang out. And, you know, it just doesn't feel right to me, to do that right now. So, I'm gonna hold off on that kind of publishing, but, I feel okay about this stuff coming out in fall 2026 and like an academic publication. I think the situation, that to me feels fine. So yeah, I can send a link when it comes out for sure.
Yeah, someone's asking about your contact on the Zoom.
Yep.
I think he had a QR code as well.
Yeah, there's a QR code on one of the slides. If, yeah,
One
I
of
mean,
the
you can put that up too.
The only thing, I don't know if you, can you copy on the Zoom? Can you copy it on the Zoom? On the chat?
It was in the PowerPoint.
Oh, you mean on
Yeah.
the screen? Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, let me do that. Hold on a second.
I think it was the first page, yeah.
Good place, yeah. Yeah, so folks at home, want to go ahead and scan that, you can just sign up.
Share the screen first. So for those of you on the Zoom, I'm sharing the screen, so you can see and you can scan the QR code to connect, with Professor McLeod and the research.
But you know, you've done a lot of interviews with me. How can we encourage people to want to do them and be part of this?
I just think maybe talking more about how this is not gonna be really out there to the public, cause I know, like people are very scared, don't wanna like expose themselves. And just really the emphasis on this will be anonymous.
Yeah, so even when I'm looking at the transcript, we can take the names out of the transcript. And when I'm looking at when I'm taking the quotes that people have said, and putting them together, you know, grouping them by theme, I don't use the names for that as well. And I'm actually not planning to use any, some people have said we can use their real names. I'm not planning to use any real names. I've decided just across the board not to do that. The only exception would be someone like that woman Vivian in Tijuana, who actually like does press conferences and actively tries to get press for herself. So that would be an exception, but otherwise, it's completely anonymous. The study was approved by the Institutional Review Board at St. Mary's College. And so, you know, I had to give the interview questions. I had to discuss my protocol for saving the interviews and participant names, and all of that has been approved. So There's a lot of safeguards in place, to protect that. There's multiple layers of that. Including removing identifying, information as well. So, you know, if someone said they went to X, for instance, someone talked about they couldn't start a club at their college. I just didn't say what college it was that they couldn't start. They should, you know, so I stuff maybe that isn't even necessary, but, I give the minimum of identifying information. So, you know, I think, that, yeah, people don't need to really worry about that. Yeah.
I think people are self-motivated. I think it's great that you safeguarding people's privacy.
Mhm.
But how do you communicate the benefit to the individuals
Yeah.
who all participate?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and this Q&A is kind of helping me sharpen that. And I think thinking about it in terms of positive visibility that, you know, can lead to, I mean, the current climate is so, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen one day to the next, but, you know, having the clearest picture of your community out there, you know, why, even something as why should we be proud to be a Haitian from Washington? You know, people talked about, you know, they're Haitians from Florida and they're in your face. You know, like, what is there a Haitian DMV pride that we can get out there as well? Is that something people want to share that we can talk about? And then just, I think more visibility done in a positive and appropriate way, I think, you know, has real benefits, whether it's like talking about services. I know people at HP have talked about the goal of like doing a, you know, community center, like convention center, like, not too much, excuse me, like a community center. You know, I think the more, if you're going and asking for donations for something like that, to say, hey, and look, there's a thriving community here. Just look at this, you know, recent article talking about, you know, what a rich community it is. And, you know, you can help, you know, you can help them kind of cement their legacy in the DMV by contributing to this project kind of thing. So I think you're absolutely right that we need to emphasize that more. Finding how to do that in like a couple sentences is a challenge, but I think, this discussion has been great because it's helping kind of sharpen how in the future we might make sure participants understand like what benefits them from contributing. Yeah, thank you.
And I think, I say thank you to you for having that interest, because I know the critical importance of scholarship and having better understanding, because the misperception about what it means to be Haitian. Actually, I remember 2 years ago, I was talking to my boss, he was joking. He said nothing good coming out of Haiti except William. But he was sort of insult, but using sort of, try to be funny.
Yeah.
But I think the current situation, what, you know, certain official has said about Haiti, period, food and so
Yeah.
forth. Having somebody like you doing the job Haitian should have done, to have a better understanding. And I think in that bias, you try to get the information from people directly, regardless the gender, regardless the class, or the social status.
Yeah.
And I think this, it should be approached by that.
Thank you.
People should be part of that. And
Thank you.
Myself, I will be willing to be a participant of that.
Wonderful, thank you.
Or someone else who are going to those other people to do the same.
Yeah, thank you.
So because what you're doing is doing a service to a community.
Thank you very much.
Perhaps probably in the next 10 years or 5 years, or a politician might be interested about Asian community,
Yeah.
DMV area.
Yeah.
So our voice, we're gonna have a voice in politics and so forth. So I think I appreciate what you're doing for us.
Thank you. No, that's really kind. That means a lot. And I think the advantage of an article like this, you know, and especially if we can get more, like you said, get more people to interview, so the results feel that more convincing. You know, newspaper articles, they come, they go like that. Something like this that's peer reviewed, it has more weight. You know, so it can, because it's been reviewed by experts, because there's a long revision process, because it's longer, because it has footnotes, it has other references in it. So, you know, it can sit there, and if there's a change in sort of who's in power and their priorities, it's still gonna be there, and there could be a time where, people could use, this kind of visibility coming from these kind of articles. And there's the other thing too, like I said, I mean, I can't tell you, the interest that I've gotten from peers and even family members talking about this project. They just the fact that I work at a public institution, I've had several students like Ladina who are Haitian, so we're serving, the Haitian community in that way. Working with the local community, learning about them, learning with them. My peers, my other faculty members get excited about me doing this as well, so I think it has a lot of potential. And thank you again. I'd love to interview you and have you be a part of this and anything else. You're making me more excited. So thank you.
Any parting words since we're drawing to closure? Concluding remarks from Fladaina. Or
Thank
from
you for all the
Professor
questions that you
George.
guys have asked. It has been very insightful and will help us for when we continue to do this.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. I've learned a lot. I have a lot to think about. As much as I've heard a lot of stories in this research that have been difficult, it made me really think hard about, some of my own privilege and what the folks I'm interviewing with have had to deal with that I have not. It's also been a tremendously joyful endeavor. And so I thank Jill and Lisa and everyone in HP, and Humberto is not here, but I thank him in absentia for his hospitality as well. And I hope that we can keep this relationship going. And thank you again for creating the space. Thank you so much.
All right, turning over to our facilitator, Lisa, anything concluding remarks?
I just want to say thank you so much for coming, and thank you for everyone in the audience and also the Zoom members for joining us. And each would like to say thank you with gratitude, and then hopefully we'll continue to be here to guide you on your journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for
Thank you.
coming. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So, for those on the call, we will definitely share the link from Professor McLeod once that the article comes out, it's published. And stay in touch with us or reach out in case you have any other questions from the session. But I'm sure Professor McLeod and research intern Ms. Bruno will be following up with other presentations in the community. There are other organizations just like AHP, Haitian Ladies Network, Comité Haitien Baltimore, Comalac, Comité pour Avancement Langue Créole. There are also churches, as mentioned by many guests in the audience. So please don't limit yourself to AHP circle, but expand broader so that it brings more credibility, more weight to the research. I think there's definitely something worthwhile from a social scientist perspective that can be learned.
Thank you. And one last thing I'll say is I've published one book already. So I think if I come to a publisher, and this is something we're talking about a couple years in the future, because I would need to do a lot more research. But if I keep doing this for 2 or 3 years, if there's able to be active participation, I have published one book. I'm very confident if I have seen books published about communities similar to the HP and the DMV in other contexts, I'm very confident that if I can do 2 or 3 more years of strong research, I can put together a good book proposal, and we're not just having an article, we're having an actual book about Haitians in Maryland that could be the first to come out. There's a path to that. This article is the kind of proof of concept that you need to show a publisher, hey, look, I've already done this work. I have credibility, I have a track record. Here's what I'm proposing to do further, and you can get a book contract based on that. So I didn't want to say that was a plan, because now I've said it out loud. You're gonna be like, when's that gonna happen? But that is definitely a possibility. And so you can also think of the article. An article is like a great thing, but to have a book could give even more positive visibility and credibility and legitimacy to the community and the spaces they create. So just wanted to sneak that in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you to those on the Zoom. We will stay in touch, and future events of HP. There's the Mixer this Friday at Citadel, the new Haitian restaurant in Wheaton. And also we have our gala coming up on September 27th. And looking forward to your support. Thank you for attending. Have a good rest of your evening.
Awesome.
You've got an appointment?
This was wonderful.
You said, oh, wonderful.